Hello, this is developmental psychology. I will be your host for the semester. My name is Zeus Simeone. I'll be running this little show, and the first thing that I'll do is go over the syllabus. Always the first day type of thing to do. Now, this is an online course, so for those of you that haven't done an online course before, this will seem very natural to you. For the rest of you, I do things a little bit differently. First of all, I lecture. I'm talking to you right now. Don't try to talk back; it doesn't work that way. But a lot of online courses just kind of do just web stuff, no lectures. You basically read the book and you get tested on the book and you call it a day. I don't really do that. I do lectures for every chapter, usually a couple lectures for every chapter. Consider this very similar to how you're going to be when you take a class online. I expect you to show up for lectures, although you can watch my videos anytime. I expect you to take notes on them. If you don't take notes, you're going to miss the fact that at least half the test is going to be on the lectures, and then the other half is going to be on the book. And we'll get into exactly how we do the tests later on. So, hello, this is what I look like. Expect to see me a lot. Just like if you were taking one of my classes in person. Now, if you want to contact me, I have the syllabus online already. You can go ahead and my email is on there. However, just contact me on Angel. This whole thing is going on Angel, and all our communication is going to be there. There's going to be discussion sections. You're going to be on there all the time. So feel free to get used to that and shoot me an email. I'll be checking it on a daily basis. Now, what we're actually going to be covering here, just for the very basics, is developmental psychology. Now, um, depending on how your introductory class went, you either got a very scientific approach of psychology or kind of a clinical, applied, touchy-feely type of psychology. Now, if the lab coat didn't give it away, I am a scientist type psychologist. So we try to shy away from the touchy-feely parts. If you're, interested in a very applied type, take abnormal psychology, get into graduate school, take some very clinical aspects, teaching you how to interpret dreams or tell how people are feeling or how to tell them to buck up little soldier when they're feeling depressed. We don't really do that here. We go strictly science. We talk about the experiments that prove the facts. Nothing here is going to wind up being really debatable at all. We'll mention facts. As a matter of fact, just to kind of cement in the fact that we're doing everything very experimentally. We'll be doing a couple of papers throughout the semester. One will be analyzing an experiment. For those of you who've already done that before, this will be very easy for you. And then the second one, you'll actually be proposing some research of your own that'll have something to do with developmental psychology. Pretty open-ended, and so you kind of get your feet wet in the whole experimental process yourself. It can be fun. Whee! Um, let's see, going over the syllabus here. You have your student learning outcomes. Honestly, to the best of my knowledge, everybody kind of glosses over those, so I'll go over the good parts version of them. The student learning outcomes, to know the really scientific aspect, the experimentally proven part of how we develop. And keep in mind, we're not just going to be going over the baby parts. Everybody loves to think that developmental psych is all about how you develop as a child, but really that's just the first 12 years. You develop every day of your life, and some of the older developmental stages are even more fascinating than the early stages. There's only so much you do when you're a little kid, I guess. So we're going to be going over the entire lifespan. We're going to be going through several different approaches, seeing four really big theorists, not just the two that a lot of people cover. The book is pretty good in this regard. Um, Class attendance. You have to attend class. This is New York, and New York has classroom attendance, whether we like it or not, whether I like it or not, or you like it or not. And if you do not attend class, you wind up failing class in a very special way. It's called an FX for those of you that aren't familiar with it. And if you get an FX, this means not only did you fail the class, but you will not be able to get any government funding from the state of New York for a while. I don't know if it's permanent or whatnot. I didn't do my undergrad in New York. but it's definitely something that you don't want to do. You don't want to fail a class in New York by not showing up. It's really a bad call. It's better to just withdraw and waste your money than make sure you'll never be able to attend classes again. Um, Now, in order to do that here, since we don't have a class, we have discussion forums. Now, for those that haven't done discussion forums, there will be a section in Angel, and each person will be assigned to a team. There's too many of you to just have on one forum. So I'll be splitting you up into teams. We will have Team Chicken, Team Gerbil, and Team Frog. All of you get a very mighty mascot that you can be proud of being part of your team, and you can look down upon all those other people that are in those crappy teams. And whatever mighty animal you have as your mascot, you can go into that. There'll be a section right in the lessons folder. As far as Angel goes, everything's pretty much in the lessons folder. At least as far as what we do here. And there'll be a folder in there, and there will be a discussion every week, and there'll be a discussion topic about something interesting, and you will have to go in there and basically just say something intelligent a couple of times a week. This means more than a sentence, not I agree with this. I have experienced the same things in the past, and then that's it. That doesn't count. You actually have to contribute to a conversation. Consider these forums to be just a conversation that you need to contribute to. Enlighten the people around you, and make it relevant. And you'll see as you go. Some people are far more enlightened than others. If you have anything that you read, that you have any basis for, you actually get extra points. As far as grading the attendance part goes, the rubric is very simple. If you just go on and say something moderately intelligent a couple of times a week, you will get a C for that week. If you say something fairly lengthy, you say something that people can actually reply to, because something that can start a conversation, then that goes up to a B. Once you start adding in references, once you start like whatever the topic happens to be, if you look it up online and find some research that's been done, again, this is a research-based class, you start talking about that research, even better, make a link to the research so other people can read it as well. Now you're up to an A. And that's how you get an A. And honestly, the class attendance is designed to be kind of an easy grading part. You should be able to do this relatively well. Just look things up. Take part in the conversations, and it should boost your grade pretty well. The class attendance winds up being worth, the whole discussion sections, being worth just as much as everything else is. So pretty easy to get an A in there if you just put in some effort. We then go down to the textbook. The textbook is unfortunately completely necessary. Normally in my classes, the textbook is just kind of a guide, and about 20% of the test is on the textbook. In this case, these are, which we'll go over in grading in just a second, but because it's an online class, about half the test is based on there. So you have to buy the book. It's Exploring Lifespan Development by Laura Burke. Probably doesn't matter what edition you get, so I would highly encourage everybody as soon as possible to go online, buy it as cheaply as you possibly can. Amazon.com and half.com both have very reasonable prices on textbooks. So get them as soon as possible so you can start reading as soon as possible. We won't be having a test the first week, but expect one the second week. The grading, how we're going to be doing grading. The first thing, we're going to be doing the discussion forums, which I already went over that. We'll be doing quizzes. The quizzes won't be weekly, but we'll have, I think, 7 quizzes altogether. The lowest score will be dropped, but with 7 quizzes altogether, you can expect one roughly every other week. Around 14 weeks in a semester, so 7 quizzes works out pretty well. The quizzes, very important. Open book quizzes. They have to be open book quizzes because it's an online course. So these quizzes will be, compared to a normal quiz, extremely difficult. And that is because I will be asking you very specific questions. I won't be asking you very simple questions like, what's the definition of salient? Salient is one of those words you have to know. It means easily observable and obvious, something easily picked out of the crowd. Very important in experiments, because just because something is very salient doesn't necessarily mean it's more important, even if people are going to notice it very well. Um, so I'm not going to ask you the definition of salient. It's useless. You're taking an online class. Even if you didn't learn anything, you could see a question. What's the definition of salient? 4 questions. You would Google salient, look it up, find out what it is, and then forget it 2 seconds later. You don't have to learn a damn thing to do definitions. So the questions are going to be relatively detailed. I might ask you questions that I would never ask in a normal course, because I might talk about a chart at some point, and say, there's a chart on page 263 about baby development and what stage they develop each thing, and then I could say, what does a baby do at 18 months that it doesn't do at 17 months? Now, it's way too specific to ask you normally, but when you can open the book and look at a chart, then that's free reign. So know the book fairly well, and expect you can take as much time as you want with the quizzes. That's fine. You can't go back and check your answers. So once you're done an answer, you're done an answer. But take your time with it. Look things up online. Check your notes. You should have your notes and your book in front of you, and take your time with the quizzes. There is no reason not to get a good grade on this, even though the quizzes are technically tougher than you'll get elsewhere. You'll also be having 2 papers. The papers are very essential. The very first one, you'll be reading one of 3 different um, experimental papers. They're about 8 to 10 pages long. They're about an experiment or a series of experiments that they did to learn something in psychology, and you will have to critique it. Just kind of talk about it, talk about what you think they did right, what you think they did wrong, how maybe you would do things differently, all the realistic aspects like that, and it's just a couple of pages long, the paper. The last paper that you do will be you will propose research your own. We'll have had the entire semester at that point to learn about the different research that people do. With the first paper, it'll prepare you for it, because you'll really thoroughly read some research, and now you get to propose stuff of your own. And honestly, it's one of the more interesting papers you get to do, because you get to really think about it. Since you'll altogether have about 10 grades with equal weight, and one of them will be thrown out. Altogether, that'll be, if I did the math right, around between 12 and 13% of your grade for each thing. So don't skip a paper. Speaking of the discussion forums, since I mentioned the FX, if you do not show up for 2 weeks of class, then you fail. You FX out. You fail out with no funding. This means that the discussions, you have to participate. If you don't have anything intelligent to say that week, I've had people do this in previous classes. They said, well, I just didn't really have anything else to contribute. Everybody else was saying the same things that I would have said, so I just observed. Like, well, you failed this week. That kind of sucks. Don't do that. You're being graded on this. Find something intelligent to say. Look something up online. There's things to contribute. Even if other people are just talking about their own personal experiences, do better than that. Don't just talk about your personal experiences. Talk about things that you found out online. The grading, a typical grading, it's there in the syllabus, between an A and a D, or an F. You can fail out of this if you suck. So don't do that. There are still some standards for class participation. Be polite to people, be civil, because we are participating in the discussions, and you'll have your whole team, and you guys will get to know each other pretty well. I actually find that there's always one team that You basically have 1 week, a Friday night or Saturday night. I don't know how I'll do it quite yet. The discussion forum will close, and you won't be able to do any more discussions that week. A lot of people will try to put it off until Friday to bother participate in the discussions. These people are pretty much guaranteed a bad grade. I dock you points for procrastination, and the reason for that is because if you part of the discussion is that you respond to what other people say. So in addition to saying something intelligent, you also have to respond to something that somebody else said. And so if you put off to the last minute to say anything, nobody can respond to you. You're not really much of an active participant anymore. So you're punishing everybody else in your team by feeling like putting something off. So in addition to being nice and being polite, be nice to your people. Don't put it off till the last minute. As far as the organization of a course, like I said, everything is going through Angel, and everything is on the lecture section, or the lesson section. I try to make it pretty easy to navigate. Feel free to email me if you're not familiar or you're somewhat rough with Angel. You'll be pretty good with Angel by the end of the semester, at least the basic parts. Second of all, a lot of people take online courses because they're trying to avoid work. That's not how they word it, of course. They word it where they want something convenient for their schedule. But in a lot of cases, convenient for the schedule means, oh, maybe Thursday night between 5 and 6, I'll check all my online courses, do a little bit of work, and then forget about it for the rest of the week. It won't work like that. You're guaranteed to fail by doing that. I'll have 2 to 3 hours of lecture a week. I'll have a book you've got to read. I'll have discussion forums you're going to have to check several times a week. By all means, you can do all of these things at your convenience, but certainly more than once a week. I would expect, just like with any class, you're going to have around 3 hours of lecture, what you would consider class time per week. Expect that here too. I try to fill it up with lectures as we're doing now here. In addition, if you've ever wondered why somebody that's taking 4 courses is considered a full-time student, that is because by law we are actually expected to give you guys 3 to 6 hours of work a week per class, which means you could be doing up to 9 hours of work per week. So those 4 classes are not just class time. It's up to triple the amount of time you're in classes. That 12 credits is supposed to be up to 36 hours of work a week. So expect to do that here. Expect to Google stuff, to really look stuff up on your own, independently, for the discussion sections. Expect to do a decent amount of work reading. Half of this is going to be over the book, and you're expected to have a pretty decent depth of knowledge with this. I'm going to ask some detailed questions. I expect you to read the book cover to cover within the course of this course. So by all means, you can do it at your convenience, but you're going to still have to do a decent amount of work. There'll be a class schedule on the syllabus, considered a little bit flexible. We'll try to cover the I like the organization of the book because it goes from one age and goes to the end of lifespan, so we won't be switching up chapters like we do in a lot of things. We'll probably have, like I said, about every other week, a quiz. The lectures you'll definitely have to take notes on. There's often an extra credit question at the end of the quiz. Sometimes there isn't. Sometimes they're relevant. Sometimes they're not. And I already went over the discussion forum, use of Angel. Some people have difficulties either navigating Angel if they're not particularly good at it, something like that. Let me know. I'm here for you. Until then, enjoy the class, and if you have any questions, let me know.